Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Payton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to The Unwritten Rule, presented on the Believe Network and brought to you by FanDuel. Today is Monday, August 18th. We're talking defensive backs. We're doing corners and safeties. Our last defensive position preview of the show. We have special teams left. Then we're previewing the entire season. And then Peyton and I will be recapping the Central Arkansas game. So we are very close to the season, getting very excited. But another big position to preview on the defensive backs front for Mizzou heading into the 2025 season. I think, we're going to break this up when we rank it like we did with defensive tackles and defensive ends, where we'll rank corners and safeties separately in our position rankings. But I think that's important because I think there's some different feelings between the corner room and the safety room, but we'll get there. Going through the roster, obviously, position coach wise, Al Pogue is the cornerbacks coach, Jacob Yoro, the safeties coach. Cornerbacks, couple of notable departures from last year: Marcus Clark, Jamarian Wayne, Jaron Sensabaugh also left. That was, kind of a bigger deal from a recruiting standpoint. Key returners: Toriano Pride, Dre Norwood, Nick Deloach, Shamar McNeil, Cameron Keys, and Nasir Pogue, and a few newcomers, including Stephen Hall, who came over from Washington State, and Mark Manfred, a 3-star recruit in the 2025 class for Mizzou. Safeties wise, Sidney Williams, Trevez Johnson, and Joseph Charleston are all gone from last year. Mizzou does get back Marvin Burks, Caleb Flagg, Dalen Carnell, Trajan Greco, wow, and Jackson Hancock, a couple of newcomers, which I'm curious to talk about this because I think they've got some interesting transfer newcomers. Mose Phillips, Jalen Catalon, Santana Banner all came in from the portal, and then Charles C.J. Bass, the 3-star out of the 2025 class. On Our Lads is what they list the depth chart as. Obviously, kind of like linebackers, defensive line, like we've talked about. All of this subject to change, might be a little bit more fluid, but at left cornerback, they have Toriano Pride, Hall McNeil, and Mark Manfred. At right cornerback, they have Dre Norwood, Nick Deloach, Cameron Keys. Nickel, they list Dalen Carnell and Mose Phillips. Free safety, Jalen Catalon, Corey Flagg, and Trajan Greco. And strong safety, Burke, Santana Banner, and CJ Bass. So a lot to get into with this room. And I think I'm going to anticipate we're a little bit more excited about the safety room than the corner room. So we'll probably talk corners with our maybe things we're most nervous about with the defensive backs room. But what are you guys most excited about with this DB unit heading into next season, Peyton? I'll throw that your way first. What are you looking forward to with the defensive backs from Mizzou next year?
I think it's got to be the safety room. I think you could legitimately argue two of Mizzou's best players are in that room. I think Dalen Carnell, obviously he's been a contributor for 4 years now. Every year he's been on Mizzou's campus. He's been a legit contributor. He's been a 3-year starter, has just really stepped into the star safety, just the hybrid safety role. Since Martez Manuel left, and he has been just stellar every step of the way. I think Mizzou's really lucky to have him for another year. Would not shock me if it's a little tricky because he doesn't play like a very traditional position. It's kind of a unique hybrid type deal. But he's an all SEC level player, I think. Definitely someone who I think you can rely on more than almost everyone else on the team. Jalen Catalon, I think he's possibly the most slept on, under-heralded transfer addition that Mizzou got. You're talking about a guy who's been in college football, a well-traveled player in the SEC as well. I mean, he played his first few years at Arkansas, had a stop in Texas, then went to UNLV under Barry Odom, where he was, depending on who you ask, an All-American. So I think he's one of the better additions Mizzou has in the portal or got in the portal. Definitely someone who I think stabilizes what was somewhat up and down safety room last year. So I think definitely those two in particular, they also will get into it. I mean, Mose Phillips, Santana Banner, they really added a lot of reinforcements to the safety room. So it's a room I feel very confident in.
I think my exciting part, building off yours, Payton, is maybe the names that people aren't talking about. For with how deep this safety room is, there's going to be contributors that people probably don't know too much about. And then, off the top is one guy is just Caleb Flagg, Corey Flagg's younger brother. He joined the team as a preferred walk-on last year. With the amount of time he saw on the field in his first season at Missouri, I don't think people would have, thought Caleb Flagg didn't have a scholarship at the time. He played in 11 games. He had 20 tackles, 1 forced fumble. I mean, those are some pretty decent numbers for a guy that, coming into the year was maybe not seen as really an option at safety. But for how, up and down it's been over the last couple of years, he took his lumps and he got on the field and took advantage of it. Another guy that I've been pretty high on for a while is Trajan Greco. Burned his red shirt last year. Saw a lot of actions on special teams. Have played in all 13 games. 2 tackles, one tackle for loss, played a good amount on special teams. I'm pretty excited just about those 2 guys. I think those are 2 that I'll kind of have my eyes on, especially maybe late in games, when the heat of the games takes over and they need guys on the field, or even in blowouts, if they're going to see a lot more action just in that secondary. Those are 2 guys that I think, and you're probably going to see even a good amount of Caleb Flagg, even in like pretty, high or premier situations, guys where they need guys on the field in that secondary. I like that. And then Drinkwick has spoken really high of Santana Banner. I thought he was very interesting, just like his whole transfer process to begin with. He went down to Georgia Tech. He was a Georgia guy. And he told me they didn't go through like a great transfer process with him. And he was like, I want to go here. This is who I want to go to out of high school. Of course, he went to Northern Illinois, then transferred to Missouri. And just that whole transfer process wasn't great. But once he got to Mizzou, one of the big things that they talked about when he talked to the staff is they were saying how much they liked him, but they were also telling him you need to improve in these facets. And we think we can get those improvements out of you at the University of Missouri. So I think just that depth, a lot of guys really buying into it. It's a really strong safety room under Yoros in his second year as a position coach.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. I think this safety room is pretty great when you look at it, even from the nickel position to free safety, strong safety. You get even a Marvin Burks back, who's been solid in his time since coming to Mizzou. You have him back at strong safety. I think the nickel position is going to be incredibly strong. I like what you said, Payton, too, with Jalen Catalon. I went back. I was just looking at some numbers stuff to your point with the well-traveled, well-tenured player in college football. He played 888 snaps on defense last year. That was the 15th most in the country among safeties with at least 500 snaps or more when I sorted it on PFF. Grades out just really well in everything. I know he made some, kind of preseason watch lists, and I think you're right. We've talked, and kind of raved about the Bo Perbulas, the Ahmad Hardys, Josiah Trotter coming over in the transfer portal. But I think this is going to be as big, if not bigger of an addition than all of them, just because he slots right into that DB room and can start and bring so much experience. There's some good stuff about him in the leadership department. Kenny, I believe Kyle over at Mizzou today he's being called the old man of the defensive backs room, and entering year 7 of college football. I think not only I think it's a blessing for Mizzou to have him, and then also, like you said, Payton, with getting Dalen Carnell back with that JUCO rule, allowing him to be in that nickel spot again and be that kind of hard hitting safety. I think it's
that wouldn't affect Dalen Carnell.
Sorry, not Dalen Carnell. What am I saying? Not Dalen Carnell. Why am I blanking? Why am I blanking?
I don't know. Is there a safety that went JUCO in that room?
No.
No, Jack's making things up.
I'm making things up. Not the JUCO rule, but having him back again for another year is also good for Mizzou. But yeah, and then we did all of our transfer episodes too on Santana Banner, Mose Phillips, all those guys, and they are, I think, big deal additions as well for kind of the depth of that room. So I think safety feels pretty set in stone, feels pretty solid for Mizzou heading into next year. when we get into the thing where the most nervous or maybe questioning with this team, I would guess you guys would think the cornerback room kind of falls into that. But I'll ask it broadly. What are you guys most worried about with the DB room, and is it the state of these cornerbacks heading into next year?
Yeah, I think obviously it's the corners. Let me say this. I do think you can do a lot worse than a top 4 of Dre Norwood, Toriano Pride, Stephen Hall, and Nick Deloach. That's what I presume the top 4 to be. I do think you can do better though. And one thing I really am concerned about is who's going to be the guy that, like, the true CB1 on this roster that can, if you really, I doubt Mizzou does much shadowing where a corner is going to follow a guy around. That's just not really how they've operated a lot of the time. But I don't really think they have that guy on the roster. I think Dre Norwood, you know what you're getting from him, very solid, can give you some really nice reps over at corner, but he's not a guy that I think is going to hold up super well over the course of a game against some of the more elite receivers in the league. I think Toriano Pride, it was a rocky start for him last year. I do think he played really well down the stretch. I think he definitely, they were rotating Deloach and Pride throughout the year. I think particularly after the South Carolina game, Pride ran away with that job. In the bowl game in particular, I remember Pride had a really nice day, had a great interception. Stephen Hall's experienced. We notably tweeted his, I think, one interception at Washington State. It was not a very good interception, but he grades out well. He's got starting experience. I do like Stephen Hall. Nick Deloach, he had his ups and downs. I think it was a really big surprise that he played as much as he did last year. I think the lows kind of stood out a bit more, to be honest with you. Just because of the moments they kind of happened. That last drive against South Carolina was a tough one for him. But I do think the room is good enough to be a solid cornerback room. I just don't think they have a true CB1. I just don't really trust that if they come up against a team that has a good gaggle of receivers, I'm not sure that Missouri will be able to hold up super well. It helps that they have an experienced cornerback room, especially with Catalon being that big free safety type back there, the roaming center fielder. Jalen Catalon, I said 4 years. It's actually year 5 for him at Mizzou now. Obviously super experienced there. I trust him. But if the corners get put on an island out there, do you trust them to really hold up? I'm not so sure. I would say I do right now.
There had to have been a lot of trust put into this cornerback room, and my concern does align with yours, Payton. 3 older guys in the room, with Hall being a redshirt senior, Norwood also being a redshirt senior, and then Toriano Pride just being a straight senior, true senior on this team. It's a good, strong group of, tenured players, but with how much they didn't really put too much focus into going all out onto a cornerback in the transfer portal. Only adding Stephen Hall was the only guy. Mark Manford, of course, coming in as an early enrollee, probably not going to see too much because they're really kind of trying to lean on Shamar McNeil and Cameron Keys to take step forwards. Keys put on some weight. McNeil just continues to try to take a step forward, development-wise and understanding playbooks and designs to try to get on the field behind some of these other guys like Nick Deloach. It's kind of intriguing that there wasn't really anyone else added. They tried to get another young guy in the spring portal, just someone with a couple years of eligibility to add to that room with extra scholarships on hand. That just never really worked out. And I don't think it's one of those things where you look at maybe the track record, because they sent 2 guys to the NFL. It's not like, Pogue hasn't done anything. It's not like this cornerback group has never accomplished anything. But I am with Payton that, he's, expressed his, worries about it before, that they just really haven't, hit on someone big since those guys. I think you're really expecting Toriano Pride to just be a totally different player from last year. I think that's one big thing they talked about. There's a chip on his shoulders, what he said at media day ahead of fall camp. I think you're going to see a different Toriano Pride coming out of the gates. They want him to want these guys to play fast right away if it's at home or on the road. And that's a guy who can probably set the tone as one of the cornerback ones. I expect, Dre Norwood to be the first guy, as a CB1, and then Toriano Pride opposite of him. And then you start, fluctuating in Stephen Hall and Nick Deloach in different packages and just, getting guys on the field. But yeah, I can understand the concerns with, maybe not the necessary depth and, track record of some of these guys in the SEC.
I agree. Toriano Pride, I was looking at his PFF grades from last season. His his best coverage grade was in the Murray State game, so I don't really count that. But his second best was actually in the bowl game against Iowa. He had graded out as a 75.1 coverage wise in that game. So
Iowa, known like really good passing.
Known team that's good at passing. That's a good point. That's a good point. So maybe there's something to be said there, but yeah, I think you're right, Kenny. And it does worry me a little bit. I think you are relying heavily on him continuing to hit the ground running. And like you said, be kind of a different player. And then Stephen Hall as well, who is a guy, who we did like, again, thinking back to our, kind of transfer episodes and looking back at those guys when they first came over. He had a 72.4 coverage grade for all of last season at Wazoo. I think it's very much a step up that he is making next year. And I think there's a lot of pressure on those guys. I do like what you pointed out though, too. It is a veteran room. You hope as older guys, they can shoulder that responsibility. But yeah, I'm not overly optimistic for Mizzou's corners when, you're talking about having them on an island one-on-one against receivers. I think it could be a problem. I don't, when you think about Payton, I'll ask you this, I guess, when you think about the things that maybe stress you out the most with this team, where does that idea rank for you? Like the cornerbacks, one-on-one situations like that with receivers, does it concern you more with maybe some of the stuff we've seen on the offensive line, maybe some of the D tackle stuff? I mean, I guess if you think about what could be Mizzou's quote unquote Achilles heel, not that this is a perfect team, overall besides one element, but where does that rank for you? These cornerbacks and maybe Mizzou getting exposed in the kind of one-on-one passing game a little bit potentially.
Well, right now, my biggest concern is definitely the O-line situation. Moving your All-American, preseason All-American left guard out to left tackle 2 weeks before the year does not inspire a lot of confidence in me. I'll be honest with you.
But Drinkwood said they'd be fine. You heard him.
I'm sure they'll be fine, but I would rather be good than just fine.
Right.
So that concerns me a little, that neither of the guys that were at left tackle won that job. Then, of course, the QB competition has to be up there. I think I'd probably say just the lack of a true bona fide CB1 and just how these corners hold up early in the year, or not even early in the year, just against a good passing attack. That is probably my biggest concern on the defensive side of the ball. I think they'll be able to rush the passer well. I'm relatively confident they'll be able to defend the run at least pretty decently. It wasn't a huge issue last year, save for a couple games. I think I would have to say the cornerback room is probably third on the team, most, and probably the biggest concern on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, it's a tough one because, you're on a defensive tackle, you're trying to still find it. And there's been so much high praise for Marquise Gracial, and even Jalen Marshall recently has gotten a good amount of hype behind him. He's in the same class as Marquise Gracial. Yeah, I think it's kind of funny too. It's you have three returners. You have a guy coming in that performed well in the Pac-2, and
I was going to say at a previous Power 5 conference.
Previous Power 5 conference, and you're saying oh, how is a team with that much leadership really, or not leadership, but years behind them and snaps behind them, how are you that worried about it? But I think it's a good worry to have.
Yeah.
Our linebacker room we've talked about is very deep. Defensive end is even deeper somehow. There's still expectations and excitement around that defensive tackle spot behind Chris McClellan. The safety room is has a lot of bodies in it as well, and a lot of high praise for a lot of the physicality, especially, which is really good to see. They really like those big body guys that can hit someone. And, I think it's a fine, I know in the SEC is a lot of, spread them out wide and throw the ball. But if that's your biggest worry right now, I think you're in a good spot defensively, and you want to keep that death row defense kind of mentality alive. And, changes will come, and, you get improvements throughout the season. And I think it's an okay spot to be in at the moment.
Yeah, actually, that's a good zag. Is maybe it says more about Mizzou's defense and how strong it actually is heading into the season than about the cornerback room. But I think that probably is the weak point. I would say either they're a defensive tackle defensively for Mizzou, and in terms of just you don't you don't know all the way what's there. You're relying on some guys to step up who, we haven't seen that kind of level of play that you maybe need from them throughout their career yet. But, it's a better position than, having to stick some true freshmen out there, a situation like that. Bold predictions from you guys for this defensive back room. I think there's a lot of places you can go there. I think, also I will go back and hand up. For some reason, I was thinking about Tristan Newson's career path when I mentioned Dalen Carnell with the JUCO thing. I don't know why I got them mixed up in my brain, but I did. That's why I said the JUCO thing. So hand
both
up
Cotton Bowl champions. It's
there you go.
understandable.
Yeah, it's not natural to get them. I mean, Dalen Carnell plays nickel. It's basically a linebacker. What bold predictions do you have about this room? I think there's a lot of places you can go with Carnell. The all SEC stuff's interesting. I think it's interesting with Catalon. We've seen him on some lists. What do you guys have? Any bold predictions? I have a Mose Phillips thing that I'm going to get to as well.
Yeah, we didn't touch on Mose Phillips and Santana Banner too much. I know Kenny did bring up Santana Banner's transfer process. I am confident in both of them, but I do think you kind of alluded to it. My bold prediction is that two guys from this Mizzou safety room will be on all SEC lists at year's end. I think it'll be Dalen Carnell and Jalen Catalon. Jalen Catalon, I don't understand how that's gone so under the radar for people. I get there's a QB competition, a lot of unsettling on the O-line. Damon Wilson was a big get. But Jalen Catalon is like a legit dude in that secondary, and I have a ton of confidence in him. Dalen Carnell, you know what you're getting with him. You're getting a really good player that I think can only go up. I don't see him taking any steps backwards when we haven't seen it in 4 years, really. So I think Dalen Carnell will continue to get better. I think both of those guys will be all SEC players. I think both will be draft picks as well, if I had to guess today, but I'm not a scout, but we'll see on that front. But I am very confident that there's two guys that I think are capable of playing on Sundays in that secondary, and I think they will be receiving awards by the end of the year.
Even with how much deeper the safety room is, I've got high expectations for Caleb Flagg. I really think that he's going to be someone that sees the field. There's a lot of guys are speaking highly of him. Drinkwitz keeps bringing his name up in press conferences. Jacob Yoro went out of his way to tell me about him and how he was doing when I spoke to him before camp. He just keeps coming up and popping up. He had 20 tackles last year, and it's kind of hard to say he's going to double that just with how many more safeties are in this room compared to last year, and it's not as banged up as it was at times. But I think my expectations is I think he's going to have pushing 40 tackles this year, and I think it's kind of hard to double those numbers, for 20 tackles and 1 forced fumble. But I think Mizzou really likes him. I think he's going to see the field a good amount. He really bought in this summer. I mean, he's just a Mizzou guy through and through now. Like I was going through his Twitter. He has like these high top Mizzou cleats with the block M on them. They really like him, and I think he's really bought in since he joined his brother here last year.
It is so interesting because it felt like he was just almost like a JR Blood type. They just gave him a spot on the team because they got his brother out of the portal. But he did. You're correct. He carved out a legit role. Marvin Burks was kind of up and down throughout the year. I think that helped pave the way for him to get more opportunities. I believe he had like a huge goal line stop in the bowl game as well. He had moments where he flashed. Who did?
His brother had a big stop in the bowl game.
Yeah, I'm talking on the goal line though. I know Corey Flagg had the big 4th and 1 stuff on the QB sneak, but I believe there was I'd have to go back and watch the highlights, but I remember Caleb Flagg popping up in that game.
Yeah, Payton, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say the same thing. I remember talking when Corey Flagg came over, and it was, they're getting his brother as well. Maybe that was part of the thing. You always have that kind of thought. And yeah, Caleb Flagg was great. And Kenny, I was going to ask you, I was a little surprised. I thought you were going to maybe go with the Trajan Greco thing. I remember you wrote about him. But to your point with Caleb Flagg, Trajan Greco had kind of, found some time last year, played a ton on special teams, and Caleb Flagg heading into next year is a guy who's now kind of in his way from even more reps. So it's again, just a testament to the depth of this DB room. I don't know if you do have any Trajan Greco stuff, but I did know you noted I think he went from 180 to 193. He might be, kind of a kind of one for the future sort of guy for that Mizzou safety room. I think he can be good. Yeah, I have a Mose Phillips one. Mose Phillips, again, just we talked highly about him, Santana Banner. I think some of these other guys, you have a similar discussion to kind of the linebacker room where I think you can see a fair amount of rotation with how deep this room is. And I think there's a lot of guys that are worth getting excited about. Mose Phillips last year, PFF wise, I'm becoming me with PFF is becoming Kenny with Torvik, by the way. It's like the same thing. I just reference it all the time. He had a 76 tackle grade last year in his season with Virginia Tech. Had some really good games. He had 9 tackles against Clemson in a pass deflection. Played fairly well against Miami. Had a pick in that game. He is some. I know the ACC is overall kind of but I think he's going to legit have a real role in that nickel position. And last year in total for Virginia Tech, he had 65 tackles. I think he's going to beat that. Once again, I'm going to ask you guys to help me settle on a number, but I think he's going to pass that next year, kind of rotating in that nickel spot with Jalen Carnell. Now this is where I'm going to say 75 tackles and Kenny's going to be like, that's not enough. And then I'll say 80 tackles and it'll be, that's way too much.
I think that's too many.
But I don't, again, going bold, like I think he might either match or pass that tally is I think the take I kind of want to settle on.
I think it's tough sometimes too, Payton, because we've talked about this even with high schoolers. Like you see like a high school cornerback or safety that has like a bunch of tackles. Like what the hell is going on with the rest of the team? Like I think that's one thing you run into with the secondary guys. So I think 85 is way too much. Well, what number did you, in your mind, what number really came to mind?
I was going to say 75, just that he passed that 65 tackle mark, which is probably still too many, but given how good the linebackers are, especially.
Yeah, it's such a different game from the ACC. I wouldn't even I don't even think it's a bad thing if he went down, because he's on a better team.
So for perspective, Jalen Carnell had 51 last year. I'm gonna pull up Marvin Burks as well. We have done a thing where I see zero world that exists where all of our predictions come true.
Well, that's what we have to do. But what if I do a thing? I wanted to go, I didn't want to go full nerd, but the first thought I had was that he maybe leads Mizzou in tackle grade. Like he just has a good, he's like a consistent tackler. He doesn't miss it.
I mean, that could be a thing. I think it would not speak super highly of the linebackers.
Some of the linebackers.
But okay, so Marvin Burks had 66. It depends because we don't know exactly where each one, like Mizzou has all of their safety positions doing different things. So it kind of depends where they play all of them. And Marvin Burks is a guy we didn't even really touch on because there's so many interesting newcomers, but I mean, it's year 3 for him. People were super high on him, myself included, after his freshman year where he got sparing play. Did not, I think, live up to expectations last year. Maybe that's a bit of a motivator for him this year. We'll see how he does in year 3, but I can't confidently say I'm definitely not going to weigh in on the tackle predictions for both of you because I have no idea what they're going to have each one of these safeties doing. I know what Catalon's going to be doing. It hopefully will not be getting as many tackles as those two, but interceptions. I wouldn't say I'm super confident in yours though, Jack. I got to be honest. I don't know that I'd say I'm super confident in Flag getting like 40 tackles either though.
Can we accept the leading in tackle grade? Can I do that one?
If you want to do that, sure. I hope it's not true, but it also speaks volumes that none of us are confident enough to put any sort of bold take on the corner room.
I think the bold take of the corner room is more negative. Like if we just think it isn't going to be.
Bold take. They stink. Is that what you're saying?
Maybe. I mean, I hope not. But
what Kenny said about Toriano Pride is kind of intriguing. I mean, I do think he's more likely to step up and develop into like a legit CB1 than I think Dre Norwood is. I think you know what you're getting out of Dre Norwood. I don't know how high his ceiling really is, but hey, maybe I'm completely off base with that.
I'm gonna go. He leads in tackle grade. I'm settling on that one.
Boy, I hope that's wrong. I really hope that it comes from the linebacker room.
I went too niche. I should have just done I should have just done your all SEC thing. I should have just ripped it away from you. Should have just said Carnell and Catalon all SEC.
Yeah, I mean, tackles are so tough because I don't know.
I wanted to highlight that seems like Mose Phillips's skill, and like in the post Dalen Carnell era, he seems like a successor at that nickel role, and I think we're gonna see.
But he wouldn't do that this year, though, so I can't.
But he'll rotate in with it this year. Like he'll play that spot. But I think he could be a future piece at that spot. So I was trying to. That's my way of highlighting it this season. But I'm going to root.
I mean, Santana Banner also. I mean, he's got what, 4 years of eligibility? 3, Kenny?
Yeah, I think 3. I think he's a redshirt freshman, isn't he?
Something like that. I don't know. Let me double check that. But
yeah. So there you go. Some predictions about the I guess just the safety room. We're not confident enough yet.
Redshirt sophomore now. Yeah.
Okay. So 3 or 4. 3. We're not confident enough to talk about the corner room or make any probably bold positive predictions about them. Where are we ranking these? Well, we can split them up corner and safety because we do have very different feelings about each of them. Let's start with corner. As a reminder, we currently have defensive ends is still our number 1, running backs still our number 2, linebackers 3, wide receivers 4, defensive tackles 5, tight ends 6, offensive line 7, quarterbacks 8. Where would you guys like to rank the corners?
I think last or like right.
Wow, I'm not that low on.
I don't know. I mean,
because we don't know who the starting quarterback is.
I know. Would you have him in front of tight ends?
No, I wouldn't.
And then it was sandwiched in between tight ends and quarterbacks.
Offensive line is below tight ends at 7.
Okay.
So
that's where I was going to have him, though. I was going to have him between O-line and tight ends. I was going to have him above O-line, below tight end.
I think that's what I was thinking too. So cornerbacks is now number 7, offensive line 8, quarterbacks 9, and then safeties, one that could probably be a little bit higher. Where are you thinking? I mean, Payton, to go on your prediction, there's 2 all SEC guys in that room.
That's true. I could make an argument for one. I don't think I'll do that. I'm more confident in that. If you remember, I had linebacker as my personal number 2 behind DNs. I am more confident in the safety room than the linebacker room because I think there's more experience. And I do think there's intriguing youth there with younger guys like Banner coming in, being so young. Maybe Marvin Burks has a bounce back year. You have Trajan Greco, who we've heard so much about. So I'm pretty confident in putting safeties as my second. I am more confident in that than running back as well. So,
are you in concurrence, Kenny?
Yeah,
that's not a word.
I think it's fair. I mean, I'm not. I think it's just getting so tough because it's like we had like a 2A and 2Bs right now, and then
What coach argument are you going to pull out that's going to convince us to put it like 4th or something?
I don't have one yet. It's your second year, so he finally got his guys, I guess. I mean, there was a lot of moving parts with Platoon also helping recruit some of those guys.
So we're going 2, 3. What are we settling on?
2 is what I would say.
All right. So defensive end, safeties, then running backs. I think that's where I would put it. I think I agree. I think we seem to value depth too when we rank these. And I think if you ask me who the 2 deepest positions are, I would say safety and linebacker. So I think 2 is a very safe bet. All right. There you go. A little DB preview. We'll see if like you said, Payton, there's some guys we didn't touch on a ton. I think Kenny had a good Toriano Pride piece. I think there's some Marvin Burke stuff that still, we could see as the season goes on. But there's a lot of guys to watch in this room, especially with the safeties. So we'll keep an eye on it as the season goes on. Guys, we're all done with our offense and defensive predictions. We only have special teams left. Isn't that wild? Payton, are you even going to come on? Are you even going to come on for that?
I won't have much to say. I'll say that much.
That might be a lot. We went 33 minutes with defensive backs. I don't think we're going to do that with special teams.
If we get to 15 minutes with special teams, it'll be Kenny talking for 10 minutes, I think.
Special teams will be probably pretty fast, but then we'll have position previews. So there you go. Safety prediction. We will go to quick hits and finish up the show. Okay, quick hits time. We finish up the show. Kenny, your Ken Sports Shorts.
Daily Dozen Trivia again. Starting off top left with the NFL.
Will we ever have a Kenny unique quiz ever again?
We'll do it once the season comes along. I'll start doing it for the teams that are playing that week or that Mizzou had already played. This NFC North team drafted Ziggy Ansah, 5th overall in 2013.
Ansah, Lions.
Bang.
NBA, this Nuggets center won 2007 Defensive Player of the Year and finished runner-up in 2008.
This was before Nene, right?
Is this Marcus Camby?
No way.
Was he a Nugget? Am I totally misremembering that?
Did he really win Depoy?
I
don't have a better guess.
I don't either.
Other than Kenneth.
I'm going to look really stupid if that's not.
It is.
All right,
It was Marcus Camby. Wow.
The soccer club, Celtics FC, resides in this Scottish city.
Boston.
San Francisco. Do you guys know?
No.
I don't know.
It is the biggest city in the country, is my hint.
In Scotland?
Yes.
Glasgow.
Yes.
Cars. This car brand is known for electric vehicles and produces models like the Air and Gravity. Is it Rivian? Rivian?
I've never even heard of Rivian, but go for it.
Cars are not my forte.
Nope.
Somebody mashup.
Is that Paul Rudd?
Subscribe on the YouTube.
No, that's the guy who played Superman.
David
The
Cornsett?
The first one, the before.
Christopher Reeve.
Yeah.
Look at you, Payton.
No, I'm kidding. That's not Christopher Reeve. That
Oh.
It was like in the 70s.
I was like,
I'm talking about the
Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
There you go.
And then it's a woman. It's
I don't know.
Oh man, I can see her face. I just don't.
It's got a
Huh?
mustache. There's a mustache.
That is a woman's face right there.
They really only included her eyes and nose?
Yeah. And then her lips.
Okay. Well, I don't know who
This
it is.
just look.
I think it's the person from Juno. They've
I don't know.
changed from woman to man.
This just looks like a person. Like if you just like shown me this person's image, I would have been like, I wouldn't have thought it was two people match up.
The forehead was a little smaller. I'd agree.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
No.
I don't know, man. Just throw someone down.
What's Elliot Page's name now?
Oh.
Oh, there it is.
Nope.
Oh, we got both wrong. Okay. In restaurants.
I don't think that was. I think that face was someone else. I really don't think they would just include that.
Moons Over My Hammy, Superbird, and Slam Burger are items offered by the sit-down chain. Is it Smash Burger?
TGI Fridays? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I guess so. Maybe it's not Smash Burger. Is Smash Burger sit down?
I've never been to a Smash Burger. Throw some.
I don't
guess it. Oh no.
Television, originally known as These Friends of Mine, this ABC sitcom from 1994 to 1998 followed a female bookstore owner who would later come out as gay during the series.
Oh well, that's Ellen DeGeneres. But I don't know the name of the show. I don't know the name of the show, but the actress was Ellen.
Okay, I don't know either.
I don't know.
Movies.
It wasn't
We fell apart after the sports.
This 20. Oh my god.
Oh, this garbage. Eternals. Just move on.
I'm not going to read it. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Music. I Just Want to Rock You All Night Long are lyrics from this 2002 song from Eve featuring Alicia Keys.
I feel like I should know, but I don't.
Isn't it Eve 6?
Eve 6?
So no. They made
They made 5 sequels of Eve.
Inside Out. No, that's the band name.
It's the band name, Eve 6.
Oh, I'm dumb.
I don't know this song.
I don't know it.
Wish they could sing it to you. All right, you guys gonna give up?
Yeah.
I think
Wow. That was a bottom round. Only 4% of people got that one, in fairness.
Lucid. Never heard of that in the car.
Yeah, that was no chance.
Celebrity mashup was Bill Hader and Josh.
Yeah, I knew that wasn't a woman.
Oh, I see Bill Hader now.
Josh Hartnett was in Oppenheimer.
Oh my gosh. He was in Trap. Did you guys see this movie?
I saw the trailer for it, but yeah, that's right.
I knew that was not
face before. Yeah.
I see it now. Yeah.
Well, Elliot Page isn't a woman either.
What was our other ones?
Chain restaurants,
Denny's.
Denny's. I guess that makes sense. Slamburger.
I was never getting that.
Television. Oh, it's just Ellen.
Wait, we didn't have to name the show. We just.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
I think that's the name of the show.
We said it. We got that right, basically.
No, I think that's the name of the
show.
show.
Yes, it changed from These Friends of Mine to the show just being called.
Oh, yeah, we did not. We did not interpret that.
Right. Gangsta Lovin'.
I don't know that I've ever heard that.
I don't know it. All right. Wow, that was tough. I'm glad I got Marcus Camby, though. I'm going to pat myself on the back for that one. Tigers in the Wild. Kenny, your Tigers in the Wild.
Tiger in the Wild goes to Theo Weiss Jr., who scored 2 touchdowns actually in this game, preseason game for the Dolphins against the Lions. The weird part is AJ Hinch is on the screen. So this was like my entire brain just in one clip. Like it was like if I was playing Retro Bowl and I named a player Theo Weiss, and then I was watching like an Astros game from 2017. So, this was pretty fun. Just like 2 things that I kind of cared about for a while in one clip.
Yeah, Weiss had 2 touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. He had
yes, he did. Yes,
6 catches for something, and yeah.
But all we care about is that AJ Hinch was on the screen for one of them. Kidding. That is Kenny's brain, just all wrapped into one post, basically. Well, it would have been Kenny's brain if it was like Brett LeBlanc somehow catching a touchdown while AJ Hinch was on the screen. That would have been the true Kenny brain rot. Payton, your Tiger.
My Tiger in the Wild is going to be the 9 captains that Mizzou has elected for the 2025 season. Shout out to Eli Hoff for tweeting them all here. QB Bo Perbula, QB Sam Horn, center Connor Tollison, O lineman Caden Green, defensive end Zion Young, Khalil Jacobs from the linebacker room, Dalen Carnell, Jalen Catalon, who I predicted would be all SEC players, and Logan Muckey was the special teams captain. So there you are. I think it's a little silly to have both Perbula and Horn be named captains. Whatever. It's not a big deal. I get a kick out of Logan Muckey just because he had his first career catch on Brady Cook's last real drive as Mizzou's QB. No real surprises, I don't think. I don't know that anyone was excluded. That I might have expected Tristan Newsome to be named a captain, but that's about all.
I think Khalil Jacobs that's a good sign. Okay, going back to our linebacker preview, we were talking about him being kind of more of a leader and seen in that role, so that's good. I'm not shocked by the QB thing at all. I think that's classic Drinkwitz, by the way. But it is a little bit silly.
That seems more like old Drinkwitz. Feels like we're going back to like
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, classic drink.
Yeah. I don't think it would have been something you would have saw like the last 2 years. I guess he was never in that situation.
Yeah.
I think I called this though with Khalil Jacobs. I said like I would think out of that entire linebacker room, he would be the guy that I would go with. I don't even think like Tristan Newsome, I don't even know what he like sounds like. I think I've seen him talk in an interview once, and he really wanted a vocal linebacker leader. And Khalil Jacobs has just had a phenomenal fall camp from everything coaches have been saying, players, and even himself.
Yeah, I think that's a good sign. The linebacker room, that was the kind of the big thing we wanted to see, is someone emerging as a leader. So I think that's a good early sign for Khalil Jacobs. My Tiger in the Wild, I'm giving it to Cody Schrader again. I'm just kind of piggybacking off of the NFL roundup stuff. 13 carries, 48 yards in the Rams' second preseason game. A couple of catches too, returning kicks, which is kind of fun. I did not see the clip, as Ben Arnett alluded to, that his helmet got ripped off on a face mask penalty, but not surprised. Scrappy guy. He's going to be, just getting in the muck with some of his runs. Tyler Bidet also, I checked, had 4 carries, 14 yards for the Broncos as well. So there's your continued wrap up of Tigers in the NFL. So hopefully Cody Schrader, if he can continue having a good preseason, it would be super fun to see him end up earning a spot with the Rams or anywhere else. So good signs. Headlines. Kenny.
My headline, I couldn't find like anyone on the Marlins beat wrote a story, so I'm just going to do this. Troy Johnson's first career home run. Friend of the program. Got some specs on this too, but big one. I mean, it's kind of cool to hit it at Fenway during Players Weekend. Some cool unis in this game too. Marlins wearing their black ones, but 419 feet, 104.6 off the bat. Another just fun thing. I mean, people probably don't know too much, but he's been on the show before. I was telling our buddy Jim Callis from MLB Pipeline, I was like, when he was getting called up, I was like, hey, he's been on the same podcast as you. And he's like, did he go to Mizzou? I was like, no, he went to Gonzaga. And then he was like, why did he come on the show? And so I was just saying, yeah, Jack had a friend of a friend, and we got him on the show, and it was awesome. It was a great interview.
Yeah,
he was a really, really nice guy. And yeah, we had to give him a shout out. We've done it a couple times over the last couple of years.
Yeah, Troy, it's maybe our most random guest ever, but I love that we did it, and it's very fun to call back to it. I'll link the video in the description if you're watching on the YouTube. You can go watch the interview with Troy. And yeah, we fought. I mean, he came on, and then he was just surging in the minor leagues, and it was got to call him up, and this is why he hit stingers. It's Troy Johnson. So yeah, great news for our friend Troy, seeing him hit his big league home run. Payton, your headline.
My headline is going to just be a tweet. So we're 0 for 2 on true headlines. Shams Charania tweeted this on Saturday. The Miami Heat are signing guard Dru Smith on a new 3-year contract, sources tell ESPN. Smith has developed within the Heat program and has overcome season-ending ACL and Achilles tendon injuries in each of the past 2 seasons. That doesn't scream Heat culture. I don't know what does. Good for Dru Smith. Obviously was a very good player in his last year, and in particular at Mizzou. He was truly he was the rightful SEC player of the year. I don't care at all about what Herb Jones has done since then. Dru Smith was better in every single facet. So good for Dru Smith. Happy for him. Hopefully he comes off his injury as well.
He had a good season.
Yeah.
He had a good season.
Best season in the SEC in his last year.
Does it still throw you guys off when you see him like without his long hair?
A little bit,
yeah.
Every single time.
Yeah. Every time, he gets brought up with from Heat circles, like Heat fans and stuff, they always like him. So hopefully he can just avoid the injuries and do well on his new deal. My headline, I do have a true headline, so I save the graphic, if you will. In that way, my headline reads, gets major fine, add more to ban list for sign stealing, will appeal. This comes from Pete Thamel and Dan Wetzel of ESPN. This was the Michigan sign stealing stuff, the cheating stuff. The punishment got handed down. They were fined, I believe it was $30 million. Their coach Moore is going to get banned for, I think it's 3 games now, because they had self-imposed a 2-game ban. Pretty big deal in college football. I brought it up in part because, I just saw in Mizzou circles, people were getting very upset that they avoided any sort of punitive penalties. They don't have to forfeit any games from before. They're not getting any sort of postseason ban. And there was a lot of one rogue tutor tweets that were coming up from Mizzou spheres. Of course, Mizzou got a bowl ban for having a tutor do some nefarious things. I just, I'm not surprised it's the NCAA. I don't know if you guys have any, thoughts on this, but again, if there was they literally gave a coach a ban from coaching who doesn't coach in college football anymore. And I'm like, this just kind of felt all pointless to me. If there's not going to be any sort of ban, I'm not that rah ban Michigan in that way, but it's just funny the way the NCAA hands out punishments. That's all I really have. But if you guys have any thoughts.
Yeah, every one of these just kind of proves how a bit absurd Mizzou's punishment was. Getting 3 different sports, I think it was, postseason banned.
Yep.
It is a tricky situation because, I mean, I don't know how, vacating wins and everything doesn't really do anything. I'm not in favor of punishing future players in that respect. I think just the fines are honestly what are the most damaging here. But I mean, even if you're looking at it as Michigan, I mean, you'll pay the fine in exchange for a national title. I mean, I think every fan base in the world would take that deal. Is what it is. We're long past it. If you're from from Mizzou's point of view, but it does kind of just show the absurdity of the punishment Mizzou got back in the day.
I always like calling back to it when other punishments like this get handed down, and just the one rogue tutor. It's just always going to be a kind of hotbed topic for Mizzou, no matter how long removed we are from it. But yeah, Jim Harbaugh can't coach in college football. Good thing he coaches the Chargers. So who cares? That's all I have, fellas. Oh, sorry, Kenny, do you have any?
Yeah, I was trying to find the tweet. This comes from USC_Nico on Twitter. Quote tweeted the news about Michigan and said, by the way, USC was punished for 7 years, 2-year bowl ban, 30 revoked scholarships, 14 vacated wins, 1 vacated title, 1 vacated Heisman, and the end of a dynasty because Reggie Bush's parents leased a house they found from a wannabe NFL agent. So it just kind of shows you.
Also a great comparison, yes.
Yeah, I honestly, obviously I've heard the whole situation. I don't know the specifics. Obviously the USC fan, maybe they're downplaying it a bit, but it does prove the NCAA is never consistent with their punishments. It feels like ever.
Dude, kids at North Carolina were taking underwater basket weaving.
Yeah, that's the old joke that people always bring up.
Yeah, I love that one. There you go. NCAA is going to NCAA. That's all I have. Payton, I'm not going to outro the show and interrupt you. Please tell your joke.
This one comes from our favorite TV series, The Today Show. Guys, what kind of fish knows how to do an appendectomy? Appendectomy.
Wow.
What kind of fish?
It's too early in the
Swordfish.
morning for those words.
No.
It's a good guess.
That's not a bad guess.
An appendectomy? I don't know, Payton. What kind of fish does?
What kind of fish knows how to do an appendectomy? A sturgeon.
Oh,
that's good.
That threw me off with specifically the appendectomy. I was overthinking it. But
yeah, you were. Yeah. They could have used anything there.
Yeah, any surgery.
A big word to throw you off.
Good. Well done. Special teams, next preview. Subscribe on the YouTube if you're watching. Give us a follow, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're all there. Very excited for the season to get going. Thank you to FanDuel. Thank you to Believe. And that'll do it. I can't believe we're just so close to the season. I'm getting very excited. And Kenny, I'm sure, is amped to talk special teams. So we'll do that on Monday's show. And we will see you then. Bye.